afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out to Mission Synths for Piqued 3-year anniversary show. We are now starting the show. We'll be starting off with Stevie Synth right here tonight, this afternoon, as it's about almost 5 p.m., the quarter till. Then we'll have our Benny perform right over here, and we'll have Tim Thompson perform last, and Tim Thompson will be providing visuals up here for both sets as well. And after each set, we'll have a Q&A session with each artist individually, and then we'll take questions from the audience. We also have t-shirts here for $20 with a nice Piqued logo on it, so if you want one, please see my main man, Lenny Hamaker, also known as Otto Leon. He's wearing a nice sleep hoodie. So please give a warm welcome to our first performer tonight, Stevie Synth. Stevie Synth, everybody. Stevie, that was a fantastic set.
Thank you.
Come on over here, man. It's okay. Thanks again for coming out to play Piqued tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, how do you feel? Have you played any shows at all in the past 2 years?
My last show was with you. That was like 3 years ago.
That was February 2020. Yeah. That was the last live Piqued show we ever did. So that's pretty. I would say that's kind of serendipitous that you're actually performing again with us.
Thanks for bringing me out.
Of course. Yeah, and this is really cool. So run down a little bit about your set tonight. Tell us what modules you're working with. You know, I see the Metreon is a great module. Break it down for us, please.
3 voices, the Basilius, and then the WMD spectrum, and then I have Platts and chord mode, but going through the evolution, and then phone as a delay, and then the I forgot that is Versio.
Yeah. This mode is Versio.
Yeah. And then actually going through
noise engineering?
Through all my drums.
We got some WMD drums in here.
Yes.
Crater and Kraken.
But I was using the Piqued as my bass drum instead.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's awesome. That's really cool, man. And what are you doing with the Arturia over here?
I have my main sequence. I have 2 different sequences. I have the one going to the Basilius, and then one going split to the WMD, and the other with Platts.
Right on. And when I asked you to perform at the set, and how did you start thinking about how you wanted to perform? Like, how did you come up with your composition?
The last couple of things I've been doing recently is just playing with different sequences with the Mother 32 I have. And then I thought about bringing some of those sequences over to here, what I was playing with, and then playing with some of those same voices I'm familiar with, is the WMD and then the Platts. So I like those, using those combined as one voice. And I put them out together, and the Basilius is always fun to play with.
Cool. Very cool, man. Thank you. And do we have any questions for Stevie from the audience tonight, this afternoon? That's okay. So, Stevie, again, man, this is a great set. And again, it's amazing that it's been 2 years and you're playing with us again.
Thank you.
It's been really great. And you know, Stevie and I actually got to jam late last year. I went over to his place and we jammed for like 3 hours straight. And I recorded the whole thing. And so far, I haven't just distributed it anywhere. It's just kind of sitting on my computer right now. But it was really cool because Stevie, you may not know, has a natural tendency to make electronic reggae. And I think that's what our set really was when we recorded together. I really got that feel of just of reggae coming out of the your set of what you and I performed together. And it's different than what you played tonight. Today is much more melodic electronics and very beautiful and really wonderful. The bass and the drums were really fantastic. And Tim Thompson was able to create some wonderful visuals. You'll see it at a later date. That I was able to actually watch him performing with your beats.
Cool.
That was really cool, Tim. Thank you so much, Tim Thompson and everyone, for doing visuals for both sets tonight. Really cool. Oh, Stevie, are you going to be doing any more sets anytime soon, or anything like that? Nothing? So, one of a kind set from Stevie Synth here at Mission Synths, which is a really great treat for all of us. So, Stevie, thank you so much for coming out today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Everyone at Stevie Synth. All right, we're going to take a brief intermission between sets. Our next performer is beny. He'll be performing right next. And we'll also have Tim Thompson on visuals. We'll be back in a few minutes for the next set. And in the meantime, we've got Lenny over here. He's selling Piqued t-shirts, $20 each. We've got mostly black and a variety in sizes, but we also have some silver as well. Please see Lenny for more t-shirts. Welcome back, everyone. We're going to be starting up our second set with beny in just a moment. Thank you all for coming out today. I see a few more unfamiliar faces, which I'm hoping to get to know you all real soon. And thanks again for coming out to Mission Synths. It's Record Store Day, so if you need a record, they have a great assortment here. And we'll be having Tim Thompson do improvised live video performance all along with beny's set tonight, which is a very, very cool thing. So please give a warm welcome to beny. our Benny, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Austin, thank you so much for coming out and performing with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
How you doing?
I'm okay. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. It feels good to play out again, and it's been a crazy week. I had a emergency root canal earlier this week, so I'm kind of feeling like shit, but it was fun otherwise.
I'm sure the ibuprofen is working.
It is.
All right, that's good. Thank you again for coming out. I know that you mentioned that you almost didn't perform tonight because of this. So thanks again. I'm glad that the surgery went well.
Oh yeah, no, me too. I'm like super grateful that I was able to get an endodontist like last minute. So yeah, feeling good. Thank you for having me again.
It's very good to have you here. And would you be so kind as to walk us through a little bit of your set tonight?
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's definitely a little complicated / convoluted, but basically, so usually when I play live, I rely on samples a lot, or like loops and samples, because usually I don't bring out this much stuff to play live, especially on the road. So I kind of wanted to challenge myself to only use oscillators and sound generators for the most part, and that was kind of the basis of this set. With I think there was 8 total voices overall, doing melodies and basses and stuff. So yeah, the Op6 is one of them, and then the rest are in the Eurorack, all controlled by the Square Hapax sequencer. So it's kind of just, generating those sounds and then processing them through loopers and effects, and just building up a wall of sound essentially.
Could you tell us about your effects boxes?
Yeah, definitely.
The Oto?
Yeah, the Oto machines, BIM and BAM. That's their name. I did not name them. They're really, really cool little, it's a delay and a reverb respectively. And I like having like these little desktop units. Like a lot of the stuff in this size range are guitar pedals, which are kind of catered more towards guitar players. And then like usual other effect stuff is like rack stuff, you know what I mean? So it's like nice to have a little desktop effect that's just that effect. But yeah, I was kind of just using them to help build up that wall of sound. Yeah, they're really nice.
There's a great wall of sound.
Oh, thank you.
And you really had this place really filled.
That's good.
It was really amazing. And tell me, how were you using the analog heat today?
So I was just basically running the entire mix through the analog heat, kind of just gluing everything together. It has this nice little saturation. I don't know. I find it really nice to have live because I can control, just kind of shape the tone a little bit extra. There's some EQ, light EQ on there and a filter. So if I feel like things are getting a little too ear piercing high, I can ease off of that. Or if things are getting too rumbly, I can ease off of that or add it. And when you start adding a lot of sound sources like that, like I was doing, and then adding distortion and stuff, it kind of really, I don't know, congeals the sound together in a way that I like when I play live. So
I think the glue was felt throughout the room with it. I think you did a really good job using the analog heat to really bring the whole piece together.
No, it's definitely, I would not play a show without it. So
that's fantastic. The enhancement. Yeah, that's a good setting.
Yeah, it makes me sound a lot better than I actually am.
Tell us a bit about your module setup tonight. Could you go through a little bit about which voices and which effects you're using?
Definitely. So the main voices, I'll go through them real quick because there is quite a few. There's the mutable instruments elements, which was I was kind of like having it do like this weird, not weird, but a flute sound. So it was kind of like on flute duty. And then there's 2 mutable rings, and one I was kind of using as the typical plucked string that everyone is tired of. And
I'm not tired of it.
I'm not tired of it either. And then the other rings is set to be more of like a xylophone glockenspiel type of sound. Then there's plats in there. which was on bass duty. So all the bass you just felt was from Platts.
Nice.
And there's the 4MS ensemble oscillator, which is a pain in the ass to keep in tune. Like if you look at it, it goes out of tune. So
I just stopped looking at it. Sorry.
I kind of just brought it in and out as like a texture thing because it has like internal FM, and I was just kind of using it to add a bit of texture to everything. And then there's Qubit Surface, which was another plucked voice. I was kind of using that for more strummed plucks because it has more voices than rings. So I can kind of do these like guitar-like strums on that. And then I was using the Instro R-Bar. I might be saying all these wrong, by the way. My apologies if this is going out online. Yeah, the R-Bar, I was kind of using it as... that was where the samples were kind of. So I just kind of had one-shot samples of an instrument in one note, like acoustic instruments, and then I could play it back polyphonically using the sequencer because each grain could have its own individual characteristics. So it could each have like their own pitch. So you could essentially make chords and stuff with it. And then Make Noise Morphogene, I was playing some field recordings through that. So that was like all the sound generators. And then there's an effects block essentially. So first there was the Telegel Rainmaker and the 4MS Tapographic Delay, which are both multi-tap delays. I think the 4MS has 32 taps and the Rainmaker has 16. I was just kind of using that to build up walls of sound also, or create like fake reverbs. Just putting the taps really close to each other and letting the feedback go wild. Mutable Clouds, that was on delay duty as well. I was kind of using it as a tape delay. So that last section where you heard like the sound kind of going and the pitch kind of being all warbly, that was Clouds. And that was running, I had the Clouds running through, I'm going to forget the name. I think it's Bizarre Jezebel. That might be the name of the company. It's a tube distortion. So I was running it through that to kind of give it a little bit more oomph. I might have brought up like the fuzz a little bit. And then I feel like I'm talking too much. Then there was Mutable Instruments Beads. And that was kind of doing some granular delay stuff, pitch shifty stuff. Just counter melodies to everything else that was going on. And I think that covers all the effects, I think. Unless you see something I'm missing.
No, it's your set, so
Yeah.
I'm not going to say, hey, you missed this one. I don't know what you actually use. I'm familiar with a lot of these modules, but everyone uses modules in a different way than everybody else does. Everyone patches in a different way. So it's always unique to see how someone is doing it and to hear how you're just designing your sound, because it's going to be different from everybody. If I had all these modules, it would have not sounded beautiful.
I mean, yeah, it just takes some practice, I guess. I don't know.
It does. It absolutely does. And many hours of just playing with them and understanding what they do, and maybe reading the manual.
Yeah, that's true. We're watching a Div Kid video.
Div Kid videos are pretty good. Thank you. Are there any questions from the audience for our Benny set tonight? Anyone curious about a particular sound you heard, or anyone curious about maybe some visuals from Tim Thompson? Yes, come on up.
When you're thinking about, you're starting from scratch, everything's unpatched, what do you reach for first? Is it an effect? Is it an oscillator? Is it a filter?
I guess it depends on what my agenda is, I guess. Typically, because usually I don't put together full performances like this with the case anymore. Like I just have it in the studio as like a studio tool. But yeah, typically I'll go for just whatever I'm feeling in the moment. If I'm wanting to explore like a certain thing within sound design, like if it's granular or these multi-tap delay networks, I've been playing with those a lot lately, the multi-tap delays. But yeah, I don't think there's any rhyme or reason to what I pick up first. It's just wherever the wind takes me, I guess.
That was a question from our friend from the Colorado Modular Synth Society.
Oh, okay.
So thank you so much.
If we've met before. Yeah, that was really fun. That was a good show. Yeah, thank you thanks everyone out there for having me.
Yes, thanks again, everybody, Benny, for playing. It's
Thank you.
great. Austin, thank you so much for performing with us. And we'll be taking a brief intermission. And when we come back, we'll be having Tim Thompson on his Space Palette 2.0. It's a fantastic piece. Hopefully, maybe after his set, maybe we can have people come by and test it out. Maybe if he's up for that, that's okay. It's a really fun instrument. If you haven't seen him before, he's been around. He does shows all over the place. He goes to Burning Man. He does all these great things. He does I think the Photon Salon sometimes, which has been a little while, but that's always a good thing too. And so after the break, we'll come back. We'll get him on going. We'll do some little Q&A on what has been going on in the Space Palette, because he's always working on it, making new developments. It's a really innovative piece of equipment there. It's really cool. So it's record store day, of course, at Mission Synth. So please get a record if you're there, if you need a record. And also, Piqued is selling T-shirts for the 3-year anniversary show that we're having here. So if you want a shirt, please see me or Lenny over there in the sleep sweater or sweatshirt hoodie. Sure, if that sounds about right. So we've got a few more shirts left over. Limited supply run of 24 shirts that we had printed, mostly in black, but a couple other lighter colors as well. Everything's printed in a nice white Piqued logo in a nice roundish font that Rich Hogben designed. And since I didn't say before, my name is Corey Luna. Most of you know who I am, but I didn't introduce myself at all. I'm your MC tonight. Rich is on videos pretty much right now, and Brian and Betsy are taking care of Mission Synths. So we'll see you all in a few minutes. Welcome back, everyone, to Piqued 3-year anniversary show. We've got Tim Thompson on the Space Palette 2.0 as our final act for tonight. So thank you all for coming out. It's really good to reconnect with some wonderful people that I've known for the past 3 years and haven't seen in about 2 years. So thanks again for coming out to Mission Synths, which is also Record Store Day. Get a record. Piqued 3-year anniversary show. Tim Thompson, Benny, and Stevie Synth. And please give a warm welcome to Tim Thompson. Thank you, Tim Thompson. You can take that one. I think that's the long one. Yeah.
Hi.
Tim, thank you so much for coming out tonight and
Sure.
and playing Mission Synth for Piqued, the 3-year anniversary.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So you always have a great performance. You always come out and dazzle and amaze. Everybody is in awe over there. I was talking to Ryan outside, and he was flabbergasted with your set. He's never seen anything like it.
Cool. Thanks.
So could you please tell us a little bit about the Space Palette 2.0 and what you're doing on it?
Sure. First of all, thanks for inviting me. I rarely do performances, actually. Usually I deploy this as a casual instrument at festivals and things for other people to play. So actually, in preparation for this event, for the last week, I've been fixing bugs and adding features to make it more of a performing instrument. So I'm grateful for these opportunities to do that.
And tell us a bit about the programming languages you're using for the controlling.
So the GUI on this is a touch screen. So the GUI is written in Python. The engine internally, the real-time engine, is written in Go, and the free-frame plugin that's running inside Resolume that's doing the sprites is written in C, C++, and then I'm using other free-frame effects inside Resolume to add more visual effects to it. So it's a combination of 3 programs.
And what system are you using for everything?
Well, there's no overriding system. I'm using Resolume for the visuals, Piqued as the VST host. I'm using Omnisphere for almost all the sounds, a little battery maybe. But Omnisphere is the main sound engine. And then, like I say, there's a Go engine that's running separately. So it's basically 4 different programs interacting. I use OSC between them, between the engine and both Piqued and Resolume. Resolume has fantastic OSC support, So I make heavy use of that.
And tell us about the stencil morphs you're using.
Well, the stencil morph was a dream come true for me. I'd been using the Fingerworks pads back in the early 2000s, which was one of the first cheap capacitive touch things, and that got me interested in three-dimensional input devices. So with the Fingerworks pads, it was multi-touch. It wasn't pressure, but it was the area of the fingers was the third dimension. So you could kind of get the area by pressing down more. So unfortunately, those Fingerworks pads aren't made anymore. But after about a decade, Synthel suddenly came out with this amazing device, which was multi-touch and pressure sensitive and cheap, and it has a fantastic API. So from C, you can get access to the raw data that it puts out. So it's just a fabulous device. So for me, it was a dream come true, and then so that's what I built this thing.
And Tim, typically with the stencil morph, it comes with skins. Are you using it bare?
Right. Yeah, I think it's marketed, for better or worse, as a MIDI controller, which kind of limits what you can do. I think its forte is really as a finger painting, completely freeform palette that you can use in a more open-ended way. That's clearly the way I use it.
Like a finger painting tablet, maybe.
And I mean, one thing I would say is you don't have to teach people how to finger paint. You just say finger paint, and they immediately know what to do. But this is producing stuff they've never heard or seen before. But they're in complete control. Every finger, everything you're seeing and hearing is directly tied to the fingers. Musically, each pad is like 2 octaves across. It's forced onto a scale. The vertical dimension on the pad controls the quantization. So if I'm up toward the top of the pad, it's quantizing to 16th notes, in the middle to 8th notes, and bottom to quarter notes. So you have control over the timing, the quantization. I can turn looping on and off. So with the touchpad, I have a huge amount of control. I have presets set up with the palettes I want to use. But at any time I can go into the more detailed editing and change parameters.
Now, do all 4 of these stencil morphs control audio and visual simultaneously?
Yeah. I mean, I could choose to make one of individual ones only sound or only visuals, but I've actually almost never done that. So every pad does both visuals, and the goal is that the visuals and the sounds, are one. So I try to, for all the presets, I try to make the visuals and the sounds, correspond. If you've got a sharp attack sound, then the visuals should be, quick, that kind of thing. So, and when I'm improvising, like with the previous sets, I'm trying to choose presets or tweak them to correspond with the sound that's going on, and I have a fair amount of control from this touchpad, so it's a lot of fun.
And over the time that you and I have discussed your casual instrument, you've mentioned that you wanted to try to make them into a package to sell. Is that still an idea?
No. Selling has never been. I've open sourced the entire thing. So.
Oh, my mistake.
Yeah, so it's completely open source. So all the software that I've written, the Go, Python, C, that's all open source on GitHub. And I've also, all the CNC data for this entire platform is also open sourced on GitHub. The actual complete package that you're not seeing here, there's normally a monitor here, which is like an oval monitor right in front of you. So it makes a nice all-in-one thing. So my goal is to give it away and
so the idea of it being open source on GitHub is that someone could make their own version of it.
Yeah, you can make exactly what you see here. It's not cheap, or at least I use a good beefy PC and so on. But you can actually use only one. If you only have one morph, you can use it. You can run the software with Resolume, and that's the most easy thing to get started. And with one pad, you can touch the 4 corners, and you can essentially simulate the 4 pads. So you can still access the 4, the complete set of sounds and visuals with one pad.
Tim, how did you first envision the space palette, going back to before you even invented the first one?
Well, I mean, back in the 80s and 90s, I did algorithmic MIDI stuff for a long time. I wrote a programming language called Piqued, which was a scripting language strictly for MIDI. So I developed the language for about a decade, and then I used it for algorithmic stuff for another decade. In the 2000s, I started getting into visuals like camera stuff and free frame plugins and so on. So I went off into visuals, and then I discovered the three-dimensional input, which I've continued to explore. So this is basically just a continuation of algorithmic media generation, and I'm actually planning. I've started to port the Kikit language to use it internally in the system. So that's going to allow me to do much more algorithmic stuff more easily and so on. So I consider this a platform that I'll be exploring for the next decade algorithmically.
And the first Space Palette version, you used an infrared camera?
The very first, the Space Palette was the Kinect. So it was a Kinect camera watching your hands, and it was a frame, a big oval frame with big holes in it. So the holes gave you 4 big regions. Each region was like a 3-dimensional mouse pad in midair. So your hand was one 3-dimensional cursor. Here, every finger is a 3-dimensional cursor. So in the original Space Palette, your hand was a 3-dimensional cursor. You could use multiple hands. And so you didn't touch anything. It was completely, open space using the Kinect. So people, loved interacting with that. And this was just the next step. I call this the Space Palette Pro, just because it's got a lot more tweakability on the touchscreen and so on. So, but it still can be used as what I call a casual instrument, depending on the UI that I present on the screen.
And thank you. And it's always amazing to see you perform and to see this instrument. It's this casual instrument. It's a beautiful piece. And
Thanks.
If you go to Tim Thompson's website, timthompson.com, you can see a photo of him with the original Space Palette oval shape. It's right there with a beautiful portrait of him.
And there's a new, the Kinect is kind of, Kinect still works on Windows. In fact, I did a recent show where I took the new software. The original Kinect version just had 4, essentially one layer and one set of effects for all 4 holes. This one has 4 independent layers. So this one has much more intricate, interesting visuals, but I ported this software to use with the Kinect. So I can still use the Kinect, but there's a new line of 3D cameras, depth cameras, Oak-D. They had a Kickstarter, and they're like $150. And it's a very active ecosystem for depth camera stuff. They're using it for object recognition and stuff like that. Very active community. And so I'm planning on essentially porting the Kinect stuff, the free space stuff, to these new cameras. So that work will continue as well. But this one's a much more performable thing. You have a lot more control, especially with the touchscreen. And the UI, I've gone through about 3 iterations of the UI, and I think I've reached a pretty good workflow. So you can independently control the sounds, the visuals, the sprites, and then the visual effects, the free frame plugins. You can control each of those independently and save presets for those, as well as presets for all 3 of them. So I'm pretty happy with the way the UI for the GUI has turned out after 3 iterations.
Thank you. Wow. Are there any questions from the audience for Tim Thompson and the Space Palette Pro? Yes, come on up.
What is the keyboard for?
The question is, what is the keyboard for?
Good question. Thank you. So yeah, great question. Thank you. It depends on what inspires me. So I can turn on a mode where rather than a fixed scale, I can control the scale dynamically from whatever keys I'm pressing on the keyboard. So if I press a chord, I don't have to hold the chord down. It latches it. So from then on, all the notes will be on that chord. So that allows me to essentially go through chord progressions and things like that, and playing single notes and so on. So there's a lot of flexibility using that. In this case, I either didn't remember or wasn't inspired to use it. So I have it there just in case I feel like using it.
Yeah, thank you for your question. That was a really good one. Are there any other more questions from the audience? If not, then Tim, would it be all right for people to
definitely
come by and try it out?
For sure.
All right, so we're gonna get off the mics, and if anyone wants to come by and try out the Space Palette Pro, please come on up. And thank you, Tim Thompson, everybody.